majors in there who want to write. They want to do game dialogue. They want to do game story. There's a whole bunch of different aspects of the university that we're trying to tie together with this. One interesting aspect of this is it's going to be mostly lecture-free. Obviously, we need to teach our ESU students the basics. They'll need to know 3D math. They'll need to know basic graphics. But we're going to give most of that. We're going to give them pre-built engines. We're going to give them all the resources the lab has to offer and see how they can build on top of that. After all, if you're going to be creating your own engine, that's a multi-semester project right there on its own. Forget making a game on top of it. Oh, well, we've got several engines to choose from, but the one that we're currently thinking of using is Torque, right? Yeah, or the Half-Life 2 engine. We've managed to secure some licensing deals to use the Source engine, which powered the multi-million-dollar hit Half-Life 2, which was released last November, and is currently one of the best PC games in memory. We've got a lot of exciting resources that are going to be available to these students. Some of the more esoteric hardware, like all that virtual reality hardware, that students really wouldn't have the opportunity to use unless the university provided it for them. We're going to hopefully make this lab fertile breeding ground for creative projects, game projects, and who knows, maybe even startups in the future. We're very excited to see what's going to come out of this. Anyway, I believe that's it. We have the question slide. I'll turn it back over to Professor Buckner.
Well, you can answer questions.
Oh, can I answer questions? Do we have any questions? It depends. That depends on a lot of factors. For example, if Microsoft were to, provide some financial support for the lab, they might not take very well if we ended up modding their Xboxes. But they're completely capable of doing that.
So far, we're completely independent of any game developer, game console, software developer. So
yeah, didn't they offer you a sign your life away contract and you turned it down? We've been very steadfast about that. We're not any one company because we want students to have access to all of it. You can't just look at one subset of it. Question?
And let me add. So in particular, one small aspect of it, but important, is we're not linking into DirectX only. We'll talk DirectX, OpenGL, and give our students experience.
There is tons of software that needs to be mastered as well, and we didn't go into as much detail about that, but we do have lots of software which is going to be used in this lab. Aside from the obvious, the development tools, Microsoft Visual Studio, all the basics there, we are going to have artistic tools. We're working with an animation company called Natural Motion, which has this fantastic animation software called Endorphin, which has been very popular in games. We're going to have licenses of Maya there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we're going to have Maya necessary software. Unfortunately, there's no programming side that you can give people. We're for as in an to dev kit and game.
But won't be a fall. We're trying to get the word out, and in getting the word out, we're finding partners that we didn't know or think about that we would have. We've done an NPR show. We were on Wall Street Journal Online, which I gave a nice interview, and Christian really turned out to be the star of that article. But just the other day, there was someone from the Mayor Campbell's administration in the city of Cleveland, and wanted to talk about what kind of gaming possibilities that they could leverage off of with the laboratory in the city of Cleveland. So we started a dialogue, and it looks like they're very interested in exploring how Cleveland can get in touch with the gaming community. And even though things are on both coasts, now how to bring some startups, how to bring some excitement, how to bring some events to Cleveland. And this is good. This is where all these things start happening, and then the contacts with the companies come as a result of that. Yeah, thus far we are not. We haven't been. We've been concentrating on the construction of the laboratory and its debut with courses in the curriculum. And now that it's becoming closer and closer to being something that you can go in and you can sit down and do something with, we're going to start turning our attention to that. So it's a good point.
Sorry for misinterpreting your question. We do actually have some contact, or more specifically, the Cleveland Institute of Art does. They're in big contact with Electronic Arts. EA is hoovering up their graduates as fast as they can give them out. It's unfortunate that all of them are going to EA, but that's just currently the way it is. And also, the Game Developers Conference was about this time last month. And I went there and started trying to spread the word about this. Unfortunately, when I said I was from Cleveland, everybody kind of looked at me funny and said, "Where's that?" We're as far as the game development industry is concerned. So right now, we're really working on the recognition problem before anybody will give us the time of day. Oh. Okay.
Oh. Yeah, in two ways. Probably even more. One is the medical simulation room that we have. There we have a couple of faculty, Vincenzo Liberatore and Chen Cavasulu, who are looking at surgical simulation, and in particularly remote distributed surgical simulation. So we have a small laboratory that's going to address that. I'm also on the board, not really the board, I wouldn't call it, advisory group. And closely linked in with another simulation center for the School of Medicine. And the School of Medicine is putting together, it's about 9,000 square foot facility. And they call some of what they're doing low-tech simulation. And what that means is I'm the doctor and you're the patient, basically. But that simulation is important for their students. So a significant amount of effort is going into that, and also into the audio visual and digital recording of that. But they also have other aspects of simulation in terms of simulating other encounters and simulating laparoscopies, emergency situations. And there'll be an ER room, an OR room, and another large simulation room with mannequins. And the level of simulation fidelity is good. It's very interesting what they actually simulate in some of these situations. Goes from looking at a mannequin and simulating EKGs to oxygen in the blood, pulse, to the patient having to roll over and throw up because you have administered the wrong drug. And so there's a lot of cool things that are going on in there, and they not only want to have pre-bought packages, but they want to be able to enhance some of the things in ways that haven't been imagined. So the tie-in with engineering and computer engineering and science is very important to them. So there's a lot of going back and forth. Anything else? Yeah. Is that whirlwind or world? Whirlwind? Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mhm.
Some students have been deal with the case
What NASA location? Do you know the NASA location that's most involved with that? At Ames? Okay. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
That's when we're doing this project course next semester. I'm going to be working on a project over the summer, just as something to get this kicked off. Oh, thank you. And we're hoping that the students next semester will have a lot of fun with their projects, and we'll get a lot of good products that we can, like you said, put the case name on, put them up on a website and start pointing industry resources toward industry people towards it, and we can then show them, once we've got something actually to show them besides just the lab, that
Just the lab?
besides
the
just.
lab?
Like I said before, we can have all the greatest hardware in the world, but unless we do interesting things with it, nobody's going to be interested.
Of course.
So once that first semester pushes through, and once we see what these students are capable of, we'll really be able to impress people a lot more. Was there another question over there?
Right.
Uh-huh.
The games, because of the fact that they're going to be using engines that are not for commercial use, either the Half-Life 2 engine or the licenses that we'll have for the Torque engine, they can't be sold. So in effect, there's nothing you can do with that intellectual property. And what? I would think that we can give it away as long as it's intended not to be reused for commercial purposes. Yeah. And in fact, I would even say maybe we can get you involved in testing to make sure that the game winds up being, as good a game as it can be. Somebody suggested. Okay, I know I got to finish up here. Someone suggested that, and I've had a lot of questions on the part of the students. I wouldn't have thought to ask this question, but the question that several students in asking about the course have said, what is the grading policy going to be? And my response was, someone mentioned, and I said, half in jest, that we're going to measure it based on the addictive power of the games. We're going to give it to somebody for a weekend, and then at the end of the week we'll say, how many hours did you spend on it? And that will form your major portion for your grade. So it's cool.
Does it work, and is it fun? Does Chris have a question?
We have, even with everything that we're purchasing here, number one, there's funds that are left over, and I'll use those as for a few years in any event to kind of get the latest and greatest what I can get my hands on. The development office is going out for looking for funding for the laboratory, for the physical construction, and also for additional funds in terms of the use as time goes on. Right now, there are no fixed sources for ongoing revenues to continue, revitalizing the lab, but that will have to be a major priority. I've seen too many labs that have started out in a bang and just fizzled away as time has gone by. So we'll need to address that. It's a good point.
Like Professor Buckner brought up earlier, though, the mayor's office themselves are interested in this. We're hoping there's going to be enough interest in this lab and hopefully enough good student projects coming out of it and other good things that it will maintain enough interest for future capital to come into it.
When you get rid of things, they go to university salvage, can you email me the day before that happens?
When we get rid of the computers, they'll still probably be pretty beefy.
I meant specifically the Polybus tracker.
Yeah.
We're
anxious to get our hands on it too. It hasn't come in yet. It's been ordered.
It'll be a lot of fun. Finally having access to these resources that we just simply wouldn't otherwise. Big fast computers, inertial trackers.